Hi once again. Jeff Turner is the CEO for immoviewer and joins me. I haven't seen Jeff for so long, and that's why it's great to see you again, my friend. How are you?
It's very, very good to see you again.
And tremendous to be in your country. I think last time we spoke was from a little tiny studio.
In the back of your house.
In the back of my house, which is still working, by the way, too.
I think we were there with Peter Brewer.
We were indeed.
It was, we may have talked about this before, but you've played an interesting role in my life. Because the first time that we spoke was at AREC in 2011 in Sydney.
I was going to remember
and
that. Yeah.
A little company based out of Manly Beach was just starting. It was their first launch, and they advertised behind my head on your show.
They did, indeed.
I met them and ended up working with them and bringing Real Satisfied to the US and selling that in 2016.
I know, Real Satisfied has just been a massive success, and I think it came out of Australia, and I think at the time the guys were just looking for links, and I think that interview was actually the link that you picked up with them on. So glad to have been a part of that.
You know, what's interesting is we went from zero, like I didn't know who they were or what they were on that day, to 6 months later launching a product in the United States.
Quite amazing. It's incredible how small this world is, and we come here to do this, and then I meet you again. Tell me about what you're doing.
Well, so, it's interesting. The experience with David and Peter in Australia has sort of turned into a form of, I'll call it a new expertise for me, helping startups understand all of the intricacies and the nuances of the North American market. And I've been a mentor for NAR Reach since its inception, and I met Ralph von Grafenstein and Steve Bintz, who was the National Sales Director for immoviewer, as part of the Reach mentorship program almost 2 years ago. And I really liked their product, but I really felt that they were, if they were going to continue on the strategy they were going, it was never going to get them to where they were going to go. And so I do it with one or two companies each mentoring session. If there's one I like, we just continue talking. And it was, there was no commercial arrangement between us or any of that. It was just me spending time, giving friendly advice. And long story short, they asked me to be the CEO of North America, and I took them up on the offer. And we've since moved the company in another direction. Just this past week, we launched a new product into the restoration and home inspection market called DocuSketch.
How does that work?
Well, so DocuSketch is a take on the 3D virtual reality space. One of the things that immoviewer does that's kind of unique is that they're able to build floor plans and 3D models from just flat 360 images. And it's a really interesting piece of math that's required to do that. And so that expertise plays actually better in that market because of the need to document, the need to get a sketch, a floor plan out, the value of 3D models inside of the restoration and home inspection space, than it does in a market like real estate where agents still haven't really caught on to virtual tours.
Talking about that, we'll go right back. I was talking to the owner of a major franchise, one of the biggest franchises in the world, and he was telling me the challenge that he's having just in getting his brokers and agents to embrace video, let alone virtual tours, virtual reality, artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Tell me, Jeff, are you staggered at the pace that this is all going at? I mean, I'm not young, I'm older than you are, but it never ceases to amaze me when I look back even 5 years ago, the advances in this industry.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've been around a long time, you've been around a long time. I think it does give us a better perspective on just how big the change is. I think I'm staggered more by the pace even from last year. That's the thing that's, you don't need to have a ton of perspective to really appreciate how fast it's going. And that's true on the 360 3D VR side of the equation. It's true on artificial intelligence and machine learning and deep learning and even blockchain. All of these things are, because of how quickly those chipsets that were required to really jumpstart the movement have been developed, the pace has just continued to pick up, and it really is staggering.
But we talk about real estate, and the Inman Conference, I think, has been the benchmark for the world for many, many years. But if we probably go back a decade, tech didn't play a real big part in it. But if you look at this now, there's a whole floor of new tech. There's another floor underneath us that's devoted to new technology that's coming through. The pace is just enormous.
Yeah, but until recently, there's really not been a major change in the real estate industry itself.
Interesting.
You know, we talk about his struggle to get agents to do video. We did some study in an MLS in upstate New York. More homes were sold last year with 0 photos or a single photo than homes that had a virtual tour. So agents will change when the consumer demands the change, and until that time, they're not going to change their model. They're not going to change the way they market homes. They're not going to change a lot of those things. And I obviously think that's a mistake. I think,
yeah, I do too.
You know, real estate in general, and this is a gross generalization. I'll apologize in advance, but I think the leaders of real estate are expecting, you know, to look for some technology meteor to come and, you know, make them dinosaurs. And I just don't think that's the way it's going to work. I think it's going to be other areas, other verticals, adapting and adopting to new technologies, and consumers just learning to expect more from that, to where it's going to force change in the industry, or something bad will happen.
Yeah, well, I don't think we should wait for that. And I agree with you. I think it's a mistake that as an industry we're waiting for this change to happen. It shouldn't be driven by the consumer. It should be driven, I think, by the agents who are using this to educate the consumers.
Yeah.
It's a big mistake.
Yeah, I think so too. I get it. I mean, I understand the mentality. A house is going to sell whether I do X
Yeah, but
or
that's
not.
lazy.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna say that you said that because
It's lazy.
It is lazy. It's but there also if you take a step back and look at it from an agent perspective, especially on the North American side of the equation, it might be a little bit different in Australia, because agents go out and, you know, the vendor pays for a lot of these services. The agent eats all of that cost here up front before a house even sells. And they're constantly bombarded from all sides with new technologies and shiny objects and things that they could do. And they really do have to weigh everything against what's really required for you to do that.
I mean, Jeff, this is your territory. I've been here 5 minutes, but I can already sense an element of requiring a change, you know, and how brokerage is done. I interviewed an agent just today who was talking about no BS in my company. You know, he's embracing technology. He's trying to change the model, working for buyers and sellers. We see the iBuyer model. All of these challenges are forcing change on this industry.
I think there's been more of that hint that something's coming in the last year than there has been in any year previous. That's a fact. I mean, I feel that as well. And I think the industry's feeling it too.
I think they are too.
The talk is becoming at a higher volume.
Yeah, I think the smart operators are anticipating that, trying to get ahead of that, and that's what I was sort of in saying about. I think we need to be driving this change rather than sitting back and waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
Great talking to you, my friend. You're always welcome.
It's always good to see you.
Yeah, thanks.
It's been too long.
Yeah, it's been too long. We'll catch up again soon.
Thank you very much.
Good on you.
Bye-bye.